It's hard to believe that The Price is Right is about to start its 46th season on CBS. The show first debuted on CBS September 4th, 1972. And for about the first 600 shows, it was a half-hour show. A lot of people don't know that today. On September 8th, 1975, The Price is Right experimented with a week of hour-long shows which feature a wheel that was spun sideways to determine which two contestants would get into the showcase. That wheel would evolve into the big wheel you see today on the show when the show permanently expanded to an hour, November 3rd, 1975. It's been that very same wheel ever since. I found out this little known fact about The Price is Right. What was the date Bob Barker taped that very first show? He taped it August 19th, 1972, and that show aired 16 days later on September 4th, Labor Day. That was the first of 6,586 shows Bob Barker would tape as a host of The Price is Right. On September 14th, 1978, when I was vacationing in California for 2 weeks, I attended a taping of The Price is Right. I didn't get picked. Earlier, Bob Barker had taped this 1,000 Price is Right episode. It's hard to believe that he would go on to tape 5,586 more shows. I watched the show for more than 40 years. And it's amazing how I know the prices of the prizes that you see up for bid. I don't write down the name of the prizes. I lock the prices in my brain. I know the prices of cars and trips that you see in the pricing games up on stage. And I can even remember some prices from more than 40 years ago. Now I'll tell you the story of how I got started watching The Price is Right. I was not a viewer from day one. I started watching the show quite by accident. I grew up in Levittown, Pennsylvania. From the mid-1970s to the early 1980s, I used to spend my winters at a place called Sept-Îles, Quebec, Canada, located about 400 miles northeast of Quebec City along the north shore of the St. Lawrence River because I loved big snowstorms back then. I went there every winter from 1974 to 1982, except for the 1978 winter and the 1979 winter. I didn't go those 2 winters. I even spent one summer there in 1980. All the years I went there, I stayed at the same boarding home, the Pension Royale. My weekly rent included 3 meals a day, 6 days a week. I was well fed. The food was good. One day in early January 1976, it was my 3rd straight winter there. I'd only been there about a week. I came down to the dining room at the boarding house I was staying at about 5:30 in the afternoon, expecting to find the news on the TV set in there. Instead, the son of the boarding home owner, who was 11 years old at the time, was watching The Price is Right. At the time, there was just one English TV channel in Sept-Îles, and you had to have cable to get it. The station came from Moncton, New Brunswick, and it was carrying The Price is Right weekday afternoons at 5:30. However, it wasn't carrying the current fabulous new 60-minute Price is Right. It was carrying reruns of the half-hour show, and would do so again in January 1977 when I returned there for my 4th straight winter. On that fateful day in January 1976, I watched The Price is Right. I said to myself, this is a fun show to watch. I was watching the show every day there that winter. And when I get back home to Levittown, Pennsylvania, the end of March, I'm going to watch the fabulous new 60-minute Price is Right. When I got home, I watched the fabulous new 60-minute Price is Right for the very first time. That's how I got started watching The Price is Right. Prior to January 1976, I'd only caught glimpses of the show when my mother happened to be watching it. In 1979, believe it or not, there was a contestant on The Price is Right from Sept-Îles. I didn't see that show. My mother saw it, but she don't remember the outcome because she didn't watch the whole show that day. In January 1980, I returned to Sept-Îles for the first time since 1977. By then, there were more English TV channels on the cable. One of them, CFCF 12 Montreal, Cable 11, was carrying the current 60-minute Price is Right weekday afternoons at 5 o'clock. I was watching the show every single day there. I think back, had I not gone there, the result today would be I hardly ever watched The Price is Right. Instead, going to Sept-Îles, Quebec, because I loved big snowstorms back then, launched my career watching The Price is Right. I estimate I saw about 300 Price is Right episodes in Sept-Îles, and overall I estimate I saw about half of the 6,586 shows Bob Barker taped as a host of The Price is Right. In November 2010, when I attended a taping of The Price is Right, there are lots of Canadians that go see The Price is Right, and believe it or not, I met a person in the line outside on Fairfax that grew up in Sept-Îles, Quebec, and he remembered me from 30 years earlier when I used to spend my winters there. That's my Sept-Îles connection to The Price is Right. There are times when things must come to an end, and on June 6, 2007, things did come to an end for Bob Barker. He retired after taping his 6,586th and final episode of The Price is Right, and the show aired 9 days later on June 15th. It's hard to believe that in 2001, I predicted that Bob Barker would retire in June of 2007 using my 35 years numbers theory. He had just signed a new 5-year contract that would take him to June of 2006 when he'll be 82 years old. This is what I predicted back then. They're going to want him out the door. Bob Barker's going to say back then, hey, that's only 34 years of The Price is Right. Might as well go one more, make it 35 years, and then retire. I was right. Bob Barker retired. Plus, he had 50 years in television to go along with it. I had the proud honor to be at CBS in Hollywood to see his last show. In early May 2007, I wrote for a ticket. It came in the mail 11 days before the taping, and I wanted to go. So I got a friend of mine to get me a good deal, round trip, for under $500 at the last minute on United 82, leaving Honolulu for LAX June 5th, and returning from LAX to Honolulu June 7th on United 81. So off I went. I left the afternoon of June 5th at around 12:50 on United 82. I went with nothing more than the clothes on my back. The plane landed at LAX at around 9:15 that evening. And while everyone else on the plane was headed to the baggage claim, I headed to the taxi cab stand. I got in a cab and headed straight to CBS Television City, not knowing how long the line would be. All I knew, there were at least 100 in the line the day before. I got there a little after 10. The cab fare was $34, and after I paid the fare, I got out of the cab and into the line. There were 2 lines on Fairfax Avenue. One line stretching north of the gate entrance was for the regular complimentary ticket holders. That line had about 125 people in the line when I got there. My ticket was a standby ticket, so I got into the standby line, stretching south of the gate entrance. That line had about 60 to 70 people in the line when I took my spot. It was a very long night for me. I tried to get some sleep on the sidewalk. I just couldn't. I was worrying. I said, if that regular line goes past 250, and it already has stretched on the Beverly Boulevard, we won't get in. The Bob Barker studio only seats about 320. At least I get the people entertained overnight with my amazing facts and great moments that occurred on The Price is Right during the past 35 years. He had me sign a release. In the middle of the night, after he videotaped me, he videotaped me, and I told him about the great moments that occurred during the past 35 years. He had me sign a release. And I signed it without hesitation. I want to be famous for my contributions I made to The Price is Right. It's now 3:30 in the morning, June 6th. And the regular line has grown to about 150 to 160 people. A cab pulls up to the bus stop on Beverly Boulevard. A young woman gets out of the cab and into the line. She told me she came in the cab all the way from Van Nuys. Things got real interesting. For the next 45 minutes, no one else came to take their spot in the line behind her, despite rumors that hundreds were going to converge there between 4 and 6 a.m. It now looks better and better. We're going to get it. good news is that line only grew by another 35 to 40 people by the time the gates to the audience holding area opened at 6 a.m. There were almost 200 people in that line. Then the pages and the red jackets came out and put the wristbands on those ticket holders first. Officially, there was 199 people in that line. At around 6:30, they came down the standby line and gave us that order of arrival passes. I was number 72 in the standby line. And now looks real good we're going to get in. Still, we did not know how many seats would be reserved for VIPs. This was a historic day. There were a lot of news media personnel there to cover Bob Barker's last show. Later that morning, they announced at least 100 standbys will get in. I jumped for joy when I heard that. I will get in to see Bob Barker tape his last show. One person had been in that line for 5 days. Overall, I was number 271 in the line. They cut it off at 327. After I took my spot in the standby line the night before, about 75 more people took their spot behind me. The last 25 or so of those did not get in. It was a very long day for me. Eventually, we went into the studio and the taping for his last show began at 2:30 and was finished at around 3:45. I didn't get picked. I sat in the far right, third row from the front, halfway between the curtain and the aisle when you look to the right at contestants row on your TV. And on Bob's last show, Philip, he's the one who had been in the line for 5 days. Well, he got picked to come on down. He had 6 chances to win his way up. He finally won his way up on stage to play the last pricey game on his last show. The last item brought out for him to bid on was a sofa, and I knew it was the one that was $15.45. He had the last bid and said $15.01. It was the one that was $15.45. He won his way up. He played any number. He lost. He ended up getting the piggy bank, $7.31. The board games were $4.29, and the price of the Ford Explorer that he lost was $26,850. The last announced contestant to get the call to come down a contestant's row was Elijah Bates. He didn't win his way up. Philip did. The contestant won their showcase on Bob's last show, Denise, the one that said she was born 9 days after the show debuted on CBS September 4th, 1972, won $140,235, including 2 new cars. A Corvette convertible in Lucky 7 worth $45,675, and a Cadillac convertible in the showcase worth around $80,000. Denise then ranked as the second biggest winner then on the Daytime Price is Right. Only Vicki Ann had won more on the daytime show. She had won $147,517, which included 3 new cars and both showcases, can you believe? Today, I believe they ranked number 4 and number 6 respectively for biggest winner ever on the Daytime Price is Right. On a show that aired on December 30th, 2013, Cherie set the new all-time record then for biggest winner ever on the Daytime Price is Right when she won $170,345, including an Audi R8 in gas money worth $157,300, making it the most expensive car ever won the Price is Right daytime or nighttime show. Along with it, she won $10,000 in cash and the prize she bid on the winner way up, the Prada shoes, $3,045. She also ranked in as the biggest winner ever on the Daytime Price is Right that did not make it into the showcase. That had been the record in those categories until it got broken on Big Money Week on the show that aired last October 28th, 2016. Kristen set the new all-time record for biggest winner ever on the Daytime Price is Right when she won $213,876, making her the biggest winner ever on the Daytime Price is Right. $210,000 of that she won was in cash in cliffhangers. They played it for a chance to win up to $250,000. So what they did was they subtracted $10,000 for each step the mountain climber moved. He went only 4 steps. She won $210,000 in cash, along with 3 small prizes and the prize she bid on the winner way up, the computer, printer, and desk, which was $2,770. She won $1,000 on the wheel. And you would think she got into the showcase. Well, think again. It was a two-way tie for $1,000. She tied it. But in the bonus spin and spin-off, the other contestant got the higher score and got into the showcase. So Kristen also became the biggest winner ever on the Daytime Price is Right that failed to make it into the showcase. That's the current record in those categories. Now let's flash back to November 3rd, 1975, the first permanent hour-long show. Christy won the Lincoln Continental in Golden Road, $12,340. Think about it, $12,304 back then. She was the first winner in Golden Road. In order for her to win the car, she had to guess the third number from the price of the floor arrangement she won, $1,023. Bob Barker said to her, "It's the 1, the 0, the 2, or the 3. And she said, "My boyfriend says the 3. I guess he was thinking like me, the numbers don't repeat. She said 3, boyfriend was right, and she won the Lincoln Continental. In order to win the floor arrangement, she had to guess the cover second number from the price of the range she won, $580. Is it the 5, the 8, or the 0? And just about everyone in the audience is making the hand motions with the 0. She said 0, audience was right, and she won the floor arrangement. In order for her to win the range, they're supposed to cover that first number, and they forgot to do it. So Bob said to her, "I'll just give you that range." The price she bid on to win her way up was the Spanish floor clock, imported from Spain, $1,250. In all, she had won $15,157, making her then both the biggest winner ever on the Daytime Price is Right and for not making it into the showcase. I wonder how long she held the record in those categories. I also wonder, did she ever end up marrying her boyfriend then? And if she did, are they still married today? After Bob's last show, I didn't get to meet Bob Barker, but I did get to meet the producer, Roger Dobkowitz. He knows me from my letters I've written over the years with my amazing facts, great moments. I got to talk to him, and I told him that when I get back to Honolulu, I'll write to him and tell him what was it like to be in that line. And he said, please do. As we exited the studio and came back on to Fairfax, there was that person again out there in the line that had videotaped me in the middle of the night. I'd already gotten his name, address, and phone number. He videotaped me again, and I talked about Bob's last show. Then I said goodbye to him. I walked over to the farmer's market. I got into a cab by the clock tower, and I headed straight to the Travelodge in the airport area with no hotel reservations. I spent about $75 in cab fare that afternoon. Let me tell you, I had quite an adventure. They told me they had no rooms available at the Travelodge. They said, check the Hacienda, 2 blocks down. They had no rooms available. I checked the place across the street. They had no rooms available. So I walked back to the Hacienda, I flagged down another cab that was about to leave, and I told the driver of the problem I'm having. He said to me, I'll take you to a place that has rooms available. So here we are, in the airport area somewhere. I have no idea where. He even came into the lobby with me to make sure that place had rooms available. And they had no rooms available. So I got back into his cab and he said to me, I'll take you to a place on West Century Boulevard that has rooms available. Another 5-mile cab ride. Before we got to that place, he said, how about Motel 6? And I said, yes! He even came into the lobby with me to make sure that place had rooms available, and they had rooms available. That's where I spent the second night. I had learned my lesson. Don't go to LA without hotel reservations, especially if you don't know the area you're in. Because when I was in the Travelodge to see if they had any rooms available, I didn't even know what city I was in. It turned out that I was in El Segundo, immediately south of Inglewood. And when he told me to walk 2 blocks to the Hacienda, I walked 2 blocks in the wrong direction into a residential area. Had I kept walking in that direction, I would have ended up reaching the Pacific Ocean. The Travelodge is located a block or 2 off Sepulveda Boulevard. The Hacienda is 2 very long blocks further down Sepulveda Boulevard, about a 1/4 mile walk. Next morning, June 7th, I returned to Honolulu in United 81, arriving at around 11:15 Hawaii time. Mission accomplished. out of more than 2.1 million then that attended the tapings of the 6,586 shows Bob Barker taped as a host of The Price is Right, only 327 can say that they were there in person to see Bob Barker tape his last show, and I was one of them and the only one from Hawaii. In fact, of the first 17 of us in the line outside, and only 327 can say that they were there to see Bob Barker's last show. And I was one of them. Think about that. I was one of them out of the 327. And the only one from Hawaii. On June 15th, 2007, the day Bob Barker's last show aired, I was on the Channel 9 News being interviewed by Jim Mendoza about The Price is Right. Tens of thousands of people on Oahu got to see it. I got my fame on TV that day. This is what the final stat showed after Bob Barker had taped his last show. I based this on 6,600 shows. 6,000 hour-long shows and 600 half-hour shows. I wasn't off by much. An estimated 57,600 contestants got the call to come down to contestants' row. That's more than the seating capacity of Dodger Stadium, which seats 56,000. Of that, an estimated 37,800 of them won their way up on stage to play a pricing game. That's more than the seating capacity of Fenway Park, which seats 37,400. 3 contestants per show will end up stranded in contestants' row. 19,758 of them ended up stranded in contestants' row. They all failed to win their way up on stage to play a pricing game. That's more than the seating capacity of the Staples Center, which seats 18,997 for the Lakers. And did you know, there's now some good news. Once you've been a contestant before on The Price is Right, daytime or nighttime shows, you can now be eligible to be picked again as a contestant after a 10-year wait. The rule took effect November 12, 2007. When you heard Rich Fields say these words, "And now, here is the star of The Price is Right, Bob Barker," it was a 35.5-foot walk from when the doors opened until he was handed the microphone. Total amount of feet Bob Barker walked alone, just doing that, an estimated 234,000 feet, or about 44 miles. Enough to make it from Los Angeles to Newport Beach. And in elapsed time, based on a 9-second walk, Bob Barker spent about 17 hours or so just walking to get his microphone. Then I calculated how many feet the wheel spinning around and around traveled based on the circumference of the wheel, about 20 feet around. I did a 25-show survey. I wrote down how many feet each spin the wheel spinning around and around traveled, including when the contestants got booed for not getting the wheel to go all the way around at least once. I added the totals for each show. I added up the grand totals for each of the 25 shows. I divided that total by 25, and the average amount of feet the wheel spinning around and around traveled, spun by an estimated 36,000 contestants, ended up being 498 feet. I multiplied 498 feet by 6,000 hour-long shows, and the total amount of feet the wheel spinning around and around traveled ended up being about 2,980,000 feet, spun by some 36,000 contestants. That comes out to about 566 miles, wheel spinning around and around. Enough to make it from Los Angeles to Las Vegas and back. I usually stopwatch the time we spin. That total came out to be about 858,000 seconds, or about 9 days, 22 hours, 20 minutes, and elapsed time the wheel spent spinning around and around. The wheel was spun, get this, more than 66,000 times, based on an average of 11.1 spins per show, multiplied by 6,000 hour-long shows. Then I calculated how long it would take to air all 6,586 episodes of The Price is Right, based on 39 minutes actual broadcast time for the hour-long shows, and 21 minutes actual broadcast time for the half-hour shows. It would take about 172 days to air all the shows non-stop and without commercial breaks. And if you count the commercial breaks, you can easily tack on another 80 days on top of that. Then I did a 100-show survey where I wrote down every single bid by all the contestants that got the call to come on down to contestants' row, including when they all overbid, had to be, how much percent of the bids, the last number of the bid, ended in either a 0, 0 or 5, 0, 1 or 5, or 0, 1, 5 or 9, and determine what is the most popular bid. I wrote down a total of 2,640 bids. 1,641, or 62.1% of them, last number of the bid, ended in a 0. 1,935, or 73.2% of them, ended in a 0 or 5. 2,344, or 88.7% of them, ended in either a 0, 1 or 5. and 2,512, or 95.1% of them, ended in either a 0, a 1, a 5, or a 9. Do you realize that 95% of the bids, the last number of the bid was either a 0, a 1, a 5, or a 9, and just 5% of the bids, the last number was either a 2, a 3, a 4, a 6, a 7, or an 8. Then I determined what is the most popular bid. I want you all to take a guess at what it is. What is it? $1 is correct. $1 is the most popular bid on The Price is Right. It was bid 131 times out of the 2,640 bids, and it got the contestant up on stage 31 times out of the, 31 times out of the 138 times it was bid. 1,200 came in second place, 113 and 23 times respectively. Then I calculated what was the total number of bids by the estimated 57,600 contestants that got the call to come down a contestant's row. Based on an average of 26.4 bids per show multiplied by 6,000 hour-long shows, and 13.2 bids per show multiplied by 600 half-hour shows. I added the two up, and the grand total came out to be about 166,320 total bids by all the contestants that got the call to come down a contestant's row. That's what the final stats showed after Bob Barker had taped his last show. You know, I had so much fun going in person to see Bob Barker tape his last show that, you know what, I did it again, exact same way for Drew Carey's first show, which he taped August 15, 2007. I wrote for a ticket at the end of June. Came in the mail just 6 days before the taping, and I wanted to do it again. So I got my friend again to get me another good deal, round trip, for under $500 at the last minute. But there was one problem. The two United flights I wanted to go on August 14th and 16th were sold out. Peak travel season. So I had to leave the night before on Northwest 802 and return back late in the afternoon August 16th on Northwest 803. So off I went, left the evening August 13th at around 10:45 on Northwest 802. I went again, with nothing more than the clothes on my back. The plane landed at LAX at around 6:15 in the morning, and I headed straight to the baggage claim. This time, the person who had videotaped me in the line for Bob Barker's last show, I kept in contact with him, I became friends with him, he picked me up at the airport. I didn't have to take a cab. I had to wait a while for him, but he got there at around 7:20. We headed straight to CBS Television City. We got there about 8. We had breakfast at the bagel place across the street, and then I took my spot in the line. It was a very long day for me. There were only about 5 people in the line. No one else came to take their spot in the line behind me that morning. I sat on the sidewalk all morning. At least I stretched my legs walking up and down Fairfax. In the early afternoon, I decided to go out and see the movie Transformers in the movie theater in the Grove. I returned to the line at around 4 that afternoon. At most, there were maybe about 10 people in the line. I decided to go out and have dinner in the farmer's market. I returned to the line around 7 that evening. At most, there were maybe about 15 people in the line. I never left the line the rest of the night except to go to the bathroom. It's now 10:15. This was about the time I arrived there exactly 10 weeks earlier for Bob Barker's last show. And I noticed, what a difference in the line! There's only about 25 to 30 people in the line. At least I kept them entertained overnight with my amazing facts and great moments. At around 5 in the morning, the line had almost reached Beverly Boulevard, and the people were starting to arrive like gangbusters. At 6, the gates to the audience holding area opened, and the pages came out and gave us our order of arrival passes. This time I was number 17 in the line and guaranteed to get in. The person at the front of the line this time had been in the line for 4 days. They told us to come back at 7:15 to begin the very long process. It was another very long day for me. Eventually, we went into the studio, and the taping for Drew Carey's first show began at 1:15 and was finished at around 2:30. I didn't get picked, but I did sit in a good seat, 3rd row from the front, first seat to the left of the aisle. When you look to the right of contestants row on your TV. And on Drew's first show, the first announced contestant to get the call to come down a contestants row was Sonia Fisher. She eventually won her way up and won the prizes in the grocery game. Eric, he had the first bid, $1,800 on the plasma TV. He didn't win his way up, but would later on the show. Octavio did with his bid of $2,200. Plasma TV was $26.98. he played the first price he gave on Drew's first show. Lucky 7. It wasn't lucky for Octavio. He lost. The price of the Ford Mustang convertible was $25,645. I played a key role in getting a contestant up on stage and winning the showcase. Brian, who I was talking to in the line outside, he sat one row behind me, a few seats down. Well, he got picked to come on down. He was the last announced name. That meant he had just one chance to win his way up. He was bidding on the Ocean Kayak, which I saw a week earlier, and I knew was the one that was $1,077. So after the cue was given, me and the person sitting next to me were telling Brian to say $1,077. With all that noise in there, he said $1,700. They all overbid. Brian got a second chance. Drew said bid lower than $1,100. So once again, me and the person sitting next to me were telling Brian to say $1,077. With all that noise in there, he said $1,070. I was right. It was $1,077. He won his way up. Thank God. None of the other three bid $1 more. Brian ended up winning the snowmobile in double prizes, $1,000 on the wheel, and he got into the showcase and won it with his bid of $1. He ended up winning the dining room furniture, the cappuccino machine, and the cruise of the Mexican Riviera. At the end of the show, I was up on stage celebrating with Brian, and I got to shake hands with Drew Carey just before they signed off. They needed people to fill the seats for the second show that day. This time it was number 259. I sat in the far right, about the 4th or 5th row from the back where you see the curtain. I sat in the 3rd seat to the right of the aisle. I didn't get picked, but once again I played a key role in getting a contestant up on stage. Her name was Denise. She sat one row behind me, one seat down. Well, she got picked to come on down. And just like Brian, she too had just one chance to win her way up. She was spinning on the trampoline, and I knew it was the one was 828. So me and the person sitting next to me were telling her to say 828. She heard us. She said 828. It was 828. She won her way up on stage and won a $500 bonus for a perfect bid, which she would not have won had I not been there. Denise ended up winning the bedroom furniture in the grocery game. But unfortunately, she didn't make it into the showcase. Those two contestants will always have me to thank for getting them up on stage. After the second show was finished, the person I was standing next to in the line outside, I sat next to him for both shows Drew Carey taped that day. He drove me to Motel 6 in Inglewood, where I spent the second night, this time with reservations. Once again, I didn't have to take a cab. Next day, August 16th, I returned to Honolulu on Northwest 803, arriving at about 5:20 Hawaii time. Once again, mission accomplished. Out of more than 2.1 million that attended the tapings of the 6,586 shows Bob Barker taped as a host of The Price is Right, and the first show Drew Carey taped as the new host. Only about 15 of them can say that they were there in person to see both Bob Barker tape his last show and Drew Carey tape his first show. And I was one of them, and the only one from Hawaii. In fact, of the first 17 of us in the line outside for Drew Carey's first show, there were at least 5 of us in that line that were there for Bob Barker's last show as well. I tell you, we were an elite group of people in that first 17 of us in the line outside. On October 15, 2007, Drew Carey's premiere show aired. However, it wasn't the first show he taped. The first show he taped, August 15, finally aired November 27, and the second show I saw him tape that day finally aired December 11th. So that's what it was like for me to be there for Bob Barker's last show and Drew Carey's first 2 shows. And I want to thank you for allowing me to make this speech.